Welcome again, adventurers. Today, we are going to build out another character, this time a champion. As you know, I really like the champion, especially the paladin and their Retributive Strike. I think it is one of the greatest, if not the greatest reactions in the game because you can use it so frequently and so reliably. Someone in your party is going to take damage almost every round. It's just going to happen. So you will be able to mitigate some of that damage, and if you position yourself correctly, you will also be able to make a strike. Now, having those sort of two things that you're doing for one reaction is just incredible. The only problem is that sometimes the positioning is a little bit difficult. So we're going to try to tackle that with this build, as well as just making a fun overall character that I think has a pretty good feel and has some different options as you level up. Let's dig in. For the ancestry, we are going to go with one of the newer ones, the Nagaji, the sort of snake-like people. I think this has a few ancestry feats that we are going to like, as well as the heritage that's going to help the overall build. And I'm also sort of thinking of this character as somewhat of a holy warrior, kind of a temple guard, I would say, from sort of like the North Africa or East Asia area of the world in Earth, sort of that desert-like holy temple place of worship. That's what this character is, and they are kind of a stoic guard, slightly a religious zealot in whatever church that happens to be. So on that note, the background is going to be guard. That just sort of makes sense, and then it also gives us a strength boost, which we will like, and then warfare skill, intimidation, quick coercion. All really nice things. And then the class, we are going to choose champion. And I already said this is going to be a paladin. All right, let's go ahead and build out our abilities now. Dexterity and strength, that's good. We're going to choose some charisma and strength because we will be doing some spell casting later. And then also remember we have that training in intimidation and the quick coercion feat. So we'll want some charisma to be good at our secondary features. Go all in on strength, boost that charisma again. And then we're going to go with constitution because you are a champion. You'll be up front. You'll be taking hits. You'll want the hit points. And then wisdom because of the religion aspect of this character. That's going to help into that role play. Also, you want that reaction, which means you want to be higher in initiative order. So it's a good thing to have. All right. So that is sort of the basics of our character there. Now let's get into our heritage. Well, Sacred Nagaji. Remember, this is a religious guard, so this just totally makes sense for what the character would be. Not only that, but let's look at what we get mechanically from this background. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to your fortitude or reflex DC against attempts to grapple or trip you. This also applies to saving throws against effects that would grab you, restrain you, or knock you prone. As a front-line fighter, being able to avoid being grappled or tripped is fantastic. I really like that this makes this much more of a defensible character because that is what you are going to need when you are up front. So we've got some protection against physical attacks, but what about mental attacks? Well, here we go. Another ability of the Nagaji here, cold-minded. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus to saving throws against emotion effects. And whenever you roll a success on a saving throw, you get a critical success instead. So now we have this sort of just stoic warrior who can't be pushed around, can't be tripped, can't be coerced. And I think that is a really cool, both in terms of the mechanics as well as just the flavor of this character, set of ancestry feats and heritage to go with. Now let's get back into the champion side of things and pick our class feat. We're going to go with ranged reprisal. This is one step of 2 steps of how to make Retributive Strike a little bit more powerful. Ranged reprisal, you can use Retributive Strike with a ranged weapon. That's not what we're doing though. In addition, if the foe that triggered your reaction is within 5 feet of your reach, but not in your reach as part of your reaction, you can step to put the foe in your reach. That's what we want. So if a creature is 5 feet out of our reach, we can actually make one step and hit them. That's what we're going to choose. And now let's go take a look at weapons and see how that is going to play in even more. Well, you probably know where I'm going here, but some weapons also have reach, like the halberd here. Reach and versatile slashing. So now, if one of our allies is within 15 feet for Retributive Strike, but the enemy that damaged them is 10 feet away, guess what? We still get to hit them. That enemy is 2 squares away, but with 1 square we make up with the halberd, and then the other square we make up with ranged reprisal. I think this really means that, yes, you still want to make sure you're positioning yourself correctly, but man, you're going to be able to step and reach and hit all over the battlefield, and that is going to be, I mean, your GM is going to hate you for it, and it's going to be awesome. Now let's go ahead and build out our defenses. Pretty simple here. When I'm going all in on strength at level 1, it's almost always the breastplate. It's expensive, but it's what you can afford, and you're going to get that good 18 base AC. Okay. I think that about does it for level 1. We've kind of gone, oh, I suppose I should do skills though. But before I do that, let's again talk about the sort of flavor of this character. They are a guard in a religious institution. They're stoic. They're maybe, though, a little bit zealous in the sense that what they know or they think they know isn't necessarily correct. I'm going to go with survival. I'm going to go with some diplomacy because that sort of makes sense as a guard. And then I haven't picked a deity, but I'll go with athletics. I am seeing the deity here as being Gorham because we will be picking up a domain spell from one of Gorham's domains later. So might have to double check which skills are available for him and switch things around. But all right. Now let's go on to some of the later levels with this character. I do think that at level 2, we're going to first take a look at Slippery Prey. This is again going to help us out in the front line. When you attempt to escape using acrobatics or athletics, you reduce the multiple attack penalty for repeated attempts to -4 or -8 if you're trained in the skill. So we've already got those bonuses to not be grabbed, but in case that happens, we are going to slip away. And I mean, this is a snake person. If you think about things that are going to be slippery, snakes, hard to grab, like just kind of makes sense. And then as far as the class feats, I always like Deity's Domain. It's just sort of fun. I like Gish classes. We already have Lay on Hands. Let's go ahead and pick up another spell here. I'm going to go with Zeal. On your next strike with the weapon before the start of your next turn, you gain a +1 status bonus to the attack roll, and the weapon deals an additional die of damage. So this is sort of a once per, well, could be more per encounter if you have multiple focus points, way to kind of get a magic weapon effect on your weapon. If you're playing with the new focus point rules from the remaster, this will give you 2 focus points, or a total of 2 focus points in your focus pool. I think earlier, if I remember, the Deity's Domains were sort of weird in the sense that you get a focus spell, but it didn't explicitly say that it gave you a focus point, so you still only had 1 focus point. Not only do I like picking up a spell so that you have something like this, like you could use 2 focus points to do a lot of damage in an encounter, and that's good. Or, you can use those 2 focus points for 2 lay on hands in a situation where you really need them. Moving on, general skill for level 3. I really like Student of the Canon for this. This is going to give us some additional benefits to rolling recall knowledge on religion, tenets of faith, and I think that just makes sense with it being a religious guard. The Divine Ally, the champion ability, we're obviously going to go with Blade here. We are not using a steed or a shield, so pretty simple. As far as the effect that we go with for Divine Ally, not returning because you're not using that. Shifting could be kind of cool because then you can do all kinds of damage, but I almost would go with Ghost Touch if that's where your campaign is going. That is sort of where I am going with this character, is that you're a little bit a fighter of the undead, which we will see a little bit later. Speaking of that, class feed at level 4, uncommon, but Sunblade. We are going to get the Sunblade Devotion spell and increase the number of focus points. Now, let's change the character over to level 4 so we can read what that does. Sunblade. You must be wielding a sword or... I guess we're not wielding a sword or spear. Maybe your GM will let you just use it with a halberd. I think that should be fine. Anyway, you make a spell attack roll, 60 feet range. The ray deals 1d4 damage if the target is evil, additional d4 good, or vitality. And if the target is undead, the ray deals an additional d4 positive damage. Or no, I guess that is vitality. I forget what the new remaster rules are going to be. I'll learn it when I have to. But the point of this is you're going to get a little bit of a ranged option, as well as be able to kind of specialize in that ghost hunter, undead hunter kind of a role. And I think that's really cool. Yeah, so we've got 3 focus spells. Weapon Surge from the Zeal Domain, Sunblade, and Lay on Hands. Total of 3 focus points. You can use those 3 focus spells in any way that you would like. And then the last thing I'm going to do for building out this character today is the next Ancestry feat, Hypnotic Lure, just because it's so cool. I imagine this for this character being less of a sort of whimsical or intriguing lure and almost more of a not intimidation, but a I guess intimidation, like the guard staring at you and you get drawn in by it. So that's what I am seeing with this character. And that was pretty quick, I feel like, to cover a lot, but I think that about does it. I would be really happy to play as this character. I think that the ranged reprisal plus the reach weapon is just an incredible combination for a champion, and I think that the heritage and ancestry feats and then slippery prey mean, good luck, GM, trying to hold or trip or intimidate this character. It's like just not gonna happen. So hopefully it is really survivable in combat, contributes a ton to damage with that Weapon Surge focus spell from the Zeal Domain. With the ranged Retribution, you should be able to make strikes at no map all of the time. And then hopefully with the Quick Coercion, you've got your warfare lore, some religion training. Hopefully this is fun in roleplay as well. That's all for today, adventurers. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.